So returning to exercise after pregnancy. The first thing to understand if we want to go back after pregnancy is what does pregnancy do to you? And although it is a beautiful time in someone's life and really is magical, it also brings along a big adaptation on the part of the woman's body because the baby has to be accommodated within the mother's stomach. So as we all know, the abdominals are going to take a big toll for the room the baby is taken in within the abdominal cavity. So going further on to what's happening with the stomach, there can be various conditions. And one of the most common conditions which I think affects 60% of most post-pregnancy women is diastasis recti, which is where the muscles or the lining of the muscles on the mom's stomach split open. So that condition is to be recognized and to be respected within the scheduling of the coming back to exercise after pregnancy. That's one of them. The other one is due to the amount of weight and the sudden increase of weight in the woman, the pelvic floor takes quite a beating. Also, at the moment of delivery, the actual pelvic floor is made to release to allow for the baby to come. So these conditions have to be taken care of when the person decides to go back to exercise. Coming into now, what are we doing in Pilates and why do people do Pilates? The place of Pilates in pregnancy is immense because we are dealing with breathing in Pilates. We always start from the basic of human nature, which is one of them is we breathe every day, all the time. So it is one place that the woman can come back to, and that's why she can also come back to Pilates sooner than in other methods of exercise, because Pilates is so very gradual, going from a very basic exercise and taking it to something potentially much more advanced later on. So it is important to go into the breathing, of course, to go into the abdomen. It is also very, very important to deal with the mother's spine because some women need to go into epidurals, and epidural means that they actually go into the dura at the spine, and that can leave slight micro lesions in the spine. Hence, the mother not only has to take care of a newborn, but is faced with some spinal restrictions due to potentially an epidural. And then, of course, the big C, the C-section, which also leaves big damage because the woman is being cut transversely into the abdominal cavity. And although the guidelines are that you need to take about, I think for a C-section is up to 12 weeks, for a normal delivery, 6 weeks, at home, the mother can already very much from the beginning start doing some very simple exercises related to those muscles that are breathing with abdominals. So let me show you some examples of what it would take for you to start straight away doing something towards dealing with your abdominals. So I'm going to lie down and I'm going to think of the abdominal cavity. As we all know, the abdominal cavity goes all the way to the pubic bone and goes all the way towards the top of the ribs, okay? So I'm going to picture that this area is one big circle, and that at the bottom of this bed, there is a hole that is right in the center of my body. As I exhale, so first of all, I'm going to take a good breath in, letting the lungs expand. And then I'm going to try and pull all the muscles. So the muscles from the bottom are going to go in towards the top where the hole is at the bottom of my spine, and the waistline into that same hole, and the ribs going down towards my navel. Other thing, I could picture a big, beautiful red satin sheath, and the sheath is going to be pulled through the middle in that hole and dragged down so that as I breathe out, without even having to move as such, I can already gather these muscles in towards that hole and have that connection coming from all ends towards the stability of the stomach. Okay? Then also very useful for those who have had a C-section or who are still too weak, is to actually start doing little exercises where the legs are being lifted on the exhale. So when that abdominal cavity is able to contract inwards, it creates that power, which is then sufficient to lift the leg from a place of abdominals rather than hip flexors. So this is your exercise number 2. Another important thing is your pelvic floor. Your pelvic floor lies very much at the bottom here, but also at the bottom of your pelvis behind you. So little exercises like trying to squeeze the seat muscles and release, and the seat muscles and release is already a good perineal, pelvic floor muscle contraction, which the mom can do as soon as the baby's born. We don't have to wait until we are given the go-ahead by the midwives and by the medical world to start activating those muscles. So this is number 2, thinking about the seat muscles and i.e. the beginning of that pelvic floor to connect as soon as we can to create a contraction and a return to safety for the mum. Number 3 is trying to gain some strength in the back of the hips to help with walking, to help with holding the baby. So a very simple exercise is bringing the heels fairly close to the seat and just starting to tilt and back down. But really, again, going from a place of the stomach first. So really just very minimal movements, but maximum power from having done first the stomach muscles we did earlier, second, the seat muscles and the pelvic floor, and third, we are now taking that into the buttocks, the hamstrings. So we're starting to strengthen more and more and more. So these are only 3 exercises. There are, of course, many, many more. And as I said, Pilates gives you a really beautiful progression. So yes, you will take these exercises onto apparatuses, which in the studio there are plenty. One thing I haven't mentioned as well, a mother is perhaps breastfeeding, so that gives her also a position which might not be good for neck and shoulders. So in Pilates, we deal with that from the word go, because that area of the mum needs taken care of and needs strengthening, and especially the wrists need strengthening because the baby will get bigger and will get heavier. Especially for first time around mums, this can be quite a surprise. Hope that's given you enough feedback to know that you are more than welcome here in our Pilatista Studio to try out and to start your journey towards strengthening and finding your space back, because you will be faced with a space of another human being that has come to your life. Thank you for your attention.